Do it again.
Before you hit record, you were trying to describe to me Princess Swap movies.
Yeah, Princess
You are
Switch movies.
Princess Switch movies, and, and I guess I totally misunderstood. Immediately in my head, I was like, "Oh, it's two princess, like the princess of Luxembourg and the princess of Bahrain. They just switch for a day."
Which makes no sense. Why? No, that's not the standard story. The standard story is like Prince and the Pauper, right?
Mm.
It's a princess and a non-princess, not two princesses
Because
switching.
what's bad about two princesses switching is like everyone would know.
Well, you know though that see that's what makes this movie work is they look exactly alike. The princess and the non-princess, they look
Yeah.
exact. They're not twins. Don't ask how it works. I don't know, but they look exactly alike. But right,
Like-
if two princesses, or would people notice? Would
like Keira Knightley and Natalie Portman.
Yeah, Natalie Portman. Except like exact. Like Vanessa Hudgens plays both the non-princess and the princess.
Okay, this is the sort of movie that could be made in the shitty 90s when a lot of comedies were just based around like racism.
Yeah.
And so you do like, oh, the Princess of Eswatini, and then you just make up a completely fictionalized version of what Eswatini is. And
Yeah.
you're like, oh, it's this primitive backwater nation, and oh, she switched with the princess of Norway. And now Norway, all of a sudden, everyone's wearing loincloths. And
Oh my god.
it would be that, right? Like, that's literally what, like, that's how that movie would go in the 90s.
You know what?
Yeah.
I don't even think it should be a comedy. This is serious biz. You can't just switch up the princesses.
You can't just switch princesses.
You can't do it.
You can't make the princess of Sweden and the princess of Bhutan just switch.
The economies will go down. I actually don't know if that's true.
I don't know what would happen. I guess
I don't know what would happen.
Would happen.
Probably nothing good would happen. So
I'd say probably nothing at all, honestly.
They just switch and it's like, all right. But like the point is though, this is a rom-com. So the princesses, they have to both find love now.
Oh my god, they both fall in love with each other's brothers.
Yes. Who also look alike. we just wrote a movie. We just wrote a movie.
Do just like wait, hold on. No. Because then the brothers fall in love with somebody who looks exactly like their sister, and the sisters are falling in love with the princesses are falling in love with somebody who looks exactly like their brother. That's really disgusting. Oh, you're the girl of my dreams. You dream about your sister?
Listen. This is my movie, and I'm writing it.
Okay, all right. So it's okay. There's two princes.
Yeah.
So let's say the Prince of Belgium and the Prince of Kuwait.
Okay.
Okay. They look exactly alike.
Okay.
And the Princess of Belgium and the Princess of Kuwait, they look exactly alike. And so Princess Belgium goes to Kuwait and Princess Kuwait goes to Belgium, and Princess Kuwait falls in love with Prince Belgium, and Princess Belgium falls in love with Princess Kuwait. And then everyone's like, to everyone else, it's just like, oh, you just started dating your you're because if no one knows, no one's supposed to know that they switched. It's like, we're getting married, and it's the prince and princess.
Cool. What are we calling this movie?
The Yucky Royalty. Yucky Royalty.
Just Yucky Royalty.
Yucky Royalty. It's yucky.
Yucky Royalty.
No, I don't. That wasn't a good. I don't know. What do you have a suggestion?
I like your original. We should just like really steal ideas and just say the Princess Swap instead of the Princess Switch.
Swap.
This is the Princess Swap. It's different.
The Yucky Princess Swap.
bad
Yeah.
movie.
But then you fall in love with both princes. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Number one movie of the year, I guess.
Well, okay, wait. What if we deepen the plot, right? So Princess Belgium goes to Kuwait, and she falls in love with Prince Kuwait. And then Prince Belgium
Uh-huh.
doesn't know that the princesses have swapped. And
I
so
mean, right, nobody's supposed to know. It is supposed to be a secret.
Wait, so then the princes literally in your version think they're falling in love with their own sister.
Um,
I thought I was gonna say the disturbing thing. Because I was gonna say, okay, then Prince Belgium goes into Princess Kuwait's room and he's like, hey, it's time for our normal incestuous sex, and then you find out that Princess Belgium and Prince Belgium have been sleeping together even though they're siblings. And now Princess Belgium is in Kuwait. And so obviously she's in love with Prince Kuwait because he looks exactly like her brother, who she's already incestuously sleeping with. And I thought this was going to be my way to make it grosser and darker.
It was already gross.
But then you go ahead and say the brothers don't even know it's not their sister the whole time.
I'm good at writing movies. This is my movie.
Oh my god.
Yucky Princess Swap.
The Yucky Princess Swap. The world's it's banned in every country. Also, if we have any Belgian or Kuwaiti listeners, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. I don't even know if you guys have current princes and princesses. Like, I know you have royalty, but I don't know.
Yeah, I actually don't either.
Also, I love how, because like in the UK, sometimes the princes and princesses are like in their 70s. So I also love the idea of this movie's happening, but all the actors are 72.
Well, yeah, of course. That's my audience. We talk about Murder, She Wrote. We talk about Gold Girls. This is for you. This is for all the oldies.
Yeah, this is some septuagenarians in incestuous royal relationships.
And also, happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays, everybody. I hope you're all enjoying. This is our Thanksgiving episode.
Sure is. I'm excited.
Oh, fuck. For what?
I love the holidays.
Oh, okay, all of them.
Yeah, I like the holidays. I like the whole like Halloween right into New Year's. I love that little slide. I don't know what to call it. That slide of holidays.
I don't have many feelings about early November, but from like the week of Thanksgiving on to Christmas, I'm pretty into that.
Yeah, I'm super into it.
Yeah.
I'm very excited and been watching all my Christmas movies. I have a black Christmas tree. I'll put that up pretty soon. It's a black Christmas tree with like red and white flowers on it. It's really pretty. It's really nice. We'll put a picture in the show notes, maybe. The show being that we haven't even introduced yet.
Hey everyone, this is Save Your Game. I'm Matt Ockamp. With me is Pushing Up Roses. How's it going, Roses?
Hi. Good.
Yeah, I usually I do a live Christmas tree every year.
A living
Christmas tree. Yeah.
That sounds like a lot of work and a lot of pine needles.
It is both. And some might ask, is it even worth it? And to them I say, well, no, of course not.
No, it's not worth it.
But I'm going to do it every year for the rest of my life. I mean, I'm only a Christmas loving human boy.
Christmas loving maniac. Yeah, I've never had a Christmas tree like that. I've never had a live Christmas tree. I've always had synthetic.
I always had a real Christmas. My mom was even allergic to Christmas trees, so every year we would try different ones. Like we would. So eventually we found that for many years she wasn't allergic to blue spruces. I don't know if you've ever had a blue spruce.
I haven't.
They are the sharpest.
Oh.
They are the sharpest trees on Earth. So when we had to switch to blue spruces, it was just absolute pain.
Oh
But
god.
they're kind of pretty. They do look a little bit blue.
They look very Christmas tree-like, I'll give it that. Like, I have it
Did you
up
just
on.
Google?
I did, and they look, yeah, they look like a Christmas tree, that
They
is,
look like a Christmas tree. Yeah, and
yeah,
in the right light, they are kind of blue.
yeah,
You can even see from pictures
you
online,
can
you see
see,
how
yeah.
stiff those branches are.
Yeah.
Like those will go straight through your skin into a vein.
Ah!
You would just like you will bleed so much while
Oh my
decorating a blue
god.
spruce.
I, like, hurt myself just on the synthetic trees.
That
That's
sounds
bad
worse.
enough.
That sounds worse to me.
It probably is, yeah, like, poke
Just like a
myself with.
a shard of plastic going deep into my skin. Um
But anyway, yes, we love the holidays.
so Roses, we're talking about 2 games today, but I
Yep.
wonder besides those 2 games, have you been playing anything?
Fuck no. You kidding? These games were so difficult for me
Yeah.
that I really tried. I really tried
Aw.
so hard. Well, I beat one. I did finish one.
Yeah.
The other one I got very far in, and then I did end up leaving it where it was because I thought it would make a good talking point,
Okay.
about where I left off and like why I left off where I did.
Hmm.
And yeah, but yeah, those are the 2 games I've been playing. They're not like technically long games, I guess, but they take a long time to complete. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like if you know
Yes.
the answers, not a long game.
You're right. If you know the answer, if I mean, there's so many answers though, it would be
Yeah.
really hard to just know all of the answers. Like
Oh yeah.
in preparation for this, I went back to Case and like I know the whole story
Mhm.
and it was still kind of slow going, right? Because
Yeah.
you have to find every word and then you have to really think through the sentences. It's not like you memorize the sentences, you know.
Yeah. It's just a very interesting I don't know why I'm doing that thing where I'm like keeping it a secret again. We're
Oh yeah.
talking about the Golden Idol games today,
Yeah.
and it's just really interesting to me. It reminds me of playing those initial King's Quest games where if you know exactly what to do, they are not long, right? Like in essence, they're not long games as opposed to something like Disco Elysium where you sift through dialogue for 500 years. It doesn't matter if you know
Right.
the answers, it's going to take that long to get through it. But yeah, it reminded me of those early adventure games where, the gameplay is what should be giving you time, is what should be taking time to play. Um, and yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. Have you played? So that those are what I've been playing. I've
Yeah.
been going back and forth from Case to Rise of the Golden Idol. Have you been? I know you've been playing those. Did you
Yeah,
play anything else?
I finished Rise. I've been playing a lot, weirdly,
Really?
because yeah,
Wow.
I've been thinking about how the end of the year is coming up, and I want to be. It's weird. Neither this nor my role as review. No one demands this of me, but for some reason, I feel like I have to keep up with like games of the year, at least in my own wheelhouse, right? Like I'm not going to
Yeah.
go play Baldur's Gate 3 or maybe one day I will, right? But I'm not going to go play Metaphor Refantasio or any of the shit
Mhm.
people are talking about, right? But I went and I downloaded here. I'll just run down a list of the games that I grabbed because I want to play them before the end of the year.
Yeah. Yeah, go for it.
Um, so we got Crypt Custodian, Tactical Breach Wizards, Bo Path of the Teal Lotus, Chicken Police into the Hive,
Oh, yeah,
Crow
yeah.
Country, Arco, Nine Souls.
Okay.
Um, so I grabbed all those because, and I should have gotten Locomotive. I didn't. I already spent too much money on
Wait,
games.
is that out? Is Locomotive out?
It just came out like yesterday, so a
Oh,
week ago,
yes.
when
Oh my god.
people are listening.
I can't wait to play it.
um, but so before I decided to do that though, so I'll talk about those as the as December rolls on, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
And probably I guess we'll probably do our favorite games of the year episode in January at some point, right? our favorite
our favorite
our
games of the
favorite
year.
games of
Oh,
2024, right?
that's a great idea. Yes, we should do that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But so I'll talk about these more as time goes on, but so I'll talk about the games that I was adventure games that I played and beat um before I started this new quest.
Yeah.
Um I finished the Journey Down Chapter 2. I remember in an old recommendations episode, I played Journey Down Chapter 1.
Yep, I
Um,
remember.
and you had compared it, as I was describing it, you compared it to Grim Fandango. And the
Yes.
further in I get, the more I feel like this is just a very Grim Fandango inspired and
Yeah.
almost Grim Fandango level quality, too.
Yeah,
Um,
that's I mean, I didn't even play it. All I did was kinda I listened to you and I looked it up. I'm like, "Oh, yeah. This
it's
definitely gives me vibes."
maybe slightly less clever dialogue wise than Grim Fandango, but the
Sure.
the story is really epic and the characters are really lovable and the puzzles are good. Like it feels like Grim Fandango in a lot of different ways. And again, rather than just like a Dia de los Muertos
Yeah.
setting, it is a Caribbean island setting
Mhm.
where also everybody wears African masks instead of has heads.
Yeah.
um so that I don't know. Yeah, so it was really good. I mean, I still have to play chapter 3, but it's really good. I once again want to recommend it. And the other
Yeah.
thing, I finally beat the Sexy Brutale.
I can't believe you finally finished Sexy Brutale. That
I
game's
know.
been
Why
around
did
for
it
so long.
I played it in fucking when I was in Louisiana. So that was when I first started it, and that's
Wow.
what 9 months ago. I
Oh,
don't
wow.
know why I've gotten more than halfway through twice and stopped twice.
Mhm.
And I finally was like, I'm gonna get this fucking thing off my Steam Deck. I'm gonna sit here and play the Sexy Brutale, and I'm gonna finish the Sexy Brutale, and I did, and it's good. The ending is unexpected and a little weird,
Yeah, it's been I
but
have beaten it. It's been many years. It
ye-
must have not left a big impression on me if I'm not able
yeah,
to recall it, you know?
right. I could see that. The solving the individual murders was pretty fun, and
Yeah.
I kind of liked the Metroidvania aspect of where you get a power and now you can go back and find secret collectibles in different rooms, like
Yeah,
an
yeah.
adventure game version of a Metroidvania. I kind of liked that, but the ending, I don't know, was odd. It was touching. There were parts of it that I felt moved by,
Sure.
but it's an odd ending. If you ever play the Sexy Brutale, get ready for an odd ending. Hey everyone, it's Matt editing. For some reason, the most interesting part of our discussion about the Sexy Brutale happened the moment we went to break. So I'm actually cutting and pasting it in here. I actually chopped a little bit into the conversation earlier. I don't know if you could tell. If you don't want to hear massive Sexy Brutale spoilers, jump to Swanky Maximino in like, I think it's like 2 minutes. All right, bye.
But because I think if I don't remember something that well, because I have a great memory, then it's lost on me. I
I'll
didn't like it.
remind you of the ending as to and you'll probably remember what you didn't like about it then.
Oh,
It
maybe.
um the main villain and your character and the host of the party who's been missing the entire time are all the same guy from different times.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah,
then all
yeah.
the henchmen turn out to also be you.
Right. It
And
got weird.
he accidentally lit his mansion on fire at the wrong time. He was trying to destroy it for the insurance, and he
Mhm.
ended up killing his wife and unborn child and all his party guests, and he
Ugh.
spent like 100 years or something torturing himself
Right.
over it. And so like the game is essentially about him, like one side of himself trying to move on
Right.
by saving all these people and relieving himself of this torture, and the other side of himself trying to fight that and being like, no, I deserve to be miserable for all eternity because of what I did to my friends.
What a fucking weird thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It
it's
gets
it's
weird.
a, it's like that's a really heavy topic, and an interesting and intelligent one, but I just don't know that they had enough space to explore
Mm.
how deep of a topic that is.
I know.
And the rest of the game did not feel that deep.
Right.
That by the ending, you're just kind of like, whoa,
It doesn't feel
oh,
deep. It feels like kind of
okay,
it feels
goof,
almost like cartoony in a
yeah,
way almost.
yeah,
Yeah. Ugh.
yeah. I mean, I thought it was going to do the thing where you were going to go back in time and just like save them all, right?
Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and it was like, okay, yeah, sometimes you do like a dark thing, but then you reverse it and then it's not that dark. But no, like the game was about you can't save them. You have to figure out how to live the next several years of your life without being constantly burdened by the guilt that you murdered
Oh God.
fucking
Jesus
12
Christ.
people, including your wife and unborn
An
daughter by
unborn
accident.
child. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, it's a wild,
Lovely.
wild game.
Yeah. I think just stories in general are endings are difficult, man. Look at Stephen King. He still can't end his shit, and he's been writing forever.
That's what I've
Um,
heard.
yeah, no, endings are hard. There are sometimes I can't even end a review, and I'm like,
Yeah.
well, okay, bye. Like it's so difficult to put a button on stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
And games are not really different. They're a different medium, but in terms of storytelling, yeah, there's some real clunker endings out there. In fact, I don't think the games we're talking about today have clunker endings,
Mm-mm.
but I do feel a certain type of way about
I know you
the
do about at
yeah,
least one.
at least
So,
one of them, yeah.
and there's one other adventure game that I played a little bit of, and I'll talk about it later in the show. But
Oh, okay.
do you want to just hop forward, play some Casey Golden Idolorino, and then talk about Case of the Golden Idol?
Yes, I do. Hey everyone, welcome back to Save Your Game. I'm Pushing Up Roses. This is my co-host, Matt Aucamp. How you doing,
Hey,
Matt?
I'm doing all right. How's your break?
Good. I am so ready to talk about the idols. Idols squared, as it were.
Is it square? Yeah. Well,
Yeah, a sort. No, no. Don't ruin my metaphor.
oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Well, one squared is two, right?
Yes.
So yeah, I guess you could say idol squared.
Yeah.
Or is
And
one
cubed
squared?
is
No, one
3.
squared. Sorry, one squared is one.
One squared is 1.
so
But 2 squared is 4.
four. Yeah, so you can't get to two by squaring.
Fuck.
Let's try.
Anyway.
Let's try. Here. I'll spend some time on the Google calculator, and you go ahead and keep introducing.
Anyway, welcome back to Save Your Game. I am very excited to talk about the idle games because I had not played them before. And you know what? I think happened. I think somewhere along the line, I confused the Case of the Golden Idol with another game I had played, and thus thought I had played it this whole time until,
Whoa.
yeah, it's wild, until we talked about Rise. And then I realized I hadn't because it was not a format that I recognized. So then I had to go back and look at Case of the Golden Idol. I'm like, I didn't play this game. What
Whoa.
game am I even confusing this with? I don't know. To this day, I don't know how it got into my head or where I got it confused.
Huh.
Yeah. But that being said, I loved Rise so much that I went back and played Case, got a key for that. And I really like both of them. I think they are some of the best deductive games,
Mm-hmm.
mystery style games. Mystery games, I think, are very difficult to write and design. But man, they are they are both rewarding and punishing at the same time.
Right.
These are these games that you're either going to feel like a genius or an idiot or both in the same playthrough, because I don't think all quote cases are made alike, right? Some cases are easier for people than others.
Right.
Um and I did some tweeting about it, and yeah, a lot of people are like, "Man, those games are tough, but they're great. They're great
Hmm.
games." And I can see why I can definitely see why people who are puzzle oriented would love this game. If you are the type of person, if you're like Matt, right? And you like the Mists of the world and like the Witness, you like puzzle games. These are what I would call logic puzzles. Even though they're mystery and you're kind of playing detective, they make sense, right? You're not, well, it's again, you're not putting the cheese in the machine. It's not like that. It's everything should make sense.
That's true.
I mean, hopefully. Look, I guessed a couple times. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, but
So first thing I'll say is 1.414222222 repeating is about the closest. Like, when you square that, that's about as close
oh,
as you can get to 2.
okay, good. Then
Um,
idle 1 point something, whatever. Yeah.
I don't remember. I just closed it and I already
No.
forgot. But yeah. I mean, there. The thing about these games, right, is there's one answer because there's a sentence you must fill,
Yeah.
and that sentence already has some words in it, and there are only each space can only hold. The sentence is only true, right, if certain words are in certain spaces.
Right.
And I think there's a very strong possibility that if you're making this sort of game, you structure it in a way that there are several ways that you could be answering that question,
Right.
and and that could be confusing because somebody's trying to pick the exact right way. But
Right.
in I think these games, I think there's only, at least in 90% of these cases, there's only one way
Oh
to
yeah.
fill in the words that it makes
I would
sense.
say even higher than that, with the exception of maybe if you're naming people, you can name them out of order sometimes. And
Yeah.
that's it. This game does not have any room for error. You have to pick the right deductions. You have to pick the right words. Um, it's like Mad
And
Libs, but like it has to be correct.
if you don't, you wouldn't have gotten the scenario correct is the other thing. Like, I think it
Right.
is really well structured in that way, where um if you really truly understand what happens, and most of the time, I'll be honest, you don't. Even me, who is, like you said, fairly good at this type of game, and fairly good at this type of logic, a lot of times I go into the sentence building and I know somewhere between 40 and 90% of what happened, right? Depending on the
Yeah.
scenario.
Yeah.
There's very, very rarely I go in 100% knowing what everything that happened. Because these are hard. These are
Hmm.
hard games. Um, and just in case just in case you're somebody who hasn't played them, uh, before you get to these Mad Libs, the way you sort of play the game is in case, because we're talking about case right now.
Hmm.
Um, you are basically like this omniscient god detective. You
Right.
imagine you're a god who's also a detective. Omniscient isn't true because you don't know everything yet. You're just like a
And also, like, it is not your job to prevent anything. Your job
correct.
is just to solve the story. So,
Yeah, you're
yeah.
just a ghost detective.
Yeah.
um, and you show up at the moment that somebody dies. I think in every case, in
Yeah.
case of the Golden Idol, the moment that a person has died, and you click around the scenes. There's hot spots. You can choose to have them highlighted or not. I usually do choose to have them highlighted.
Yeah, I do too.
Um, because where sometimes hotspot highlighting in like a point and click game can feel cheap,
Mhm.
right? Like, it can stop you from really exploring a scene.
Mhm.
Uh, but in this case,
I think
uh,
it's necessary in this case.
yeah, it's almost necessary.
The game's already hard. Like,
Right.
I don't wanna also miss words while also trying to deduce, what happened in this scene.
And unlike a point and click where you can not pay attention to what's going on and just try everything with everything, just click on everything and you'll eventually fucking get it, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Um, that's not the case here, right?
yeah,
Even if you let it show you where the hotspots are, you are going to need to really absorb every inch of the scene
yeah, yeah.
to
So
understand how to answer the questions.
yeah, so you and I, we had streamed the demo when before
Mhm.
Rise came out. We
Of
streamed the
Rise,
demo,
yeah.
and I'm clicking around and I'm kind of getting used to it. And I'm like, okay. And then you had said something that made me realize that like the nature of the whole game, because it's not just hotspots. You have to look at the entire scene, whether you can click on stuff or not, which is
I
brilliant. That makes it a mystery. You know, that makes
I
it a
think
murder mystery.
even though we're talking about case right now, I think this moment is spoilable, and it like I think we can spoil it easily without
Yeah.
ruining anything for anybody. And it also gives you a really good example of what's going on. One thing that is not a hotspot in the very first scenario of Rise of the Golden Idol, a man is lying down on the ground. You can very easily tell that he's slipped on the stairs
Yeah.
because there's like a path leading from an icy set of stairs to where he's at. It's just been snowing outside.
Yeah.
Um, and what Roses had missed because she had looked at all of the evidence and all of the hot spots, but hadn't quite realized that you have to take in the whole scene. And what um, taught you, Roses, that you had to do this was that a scrap of fabric from his sleeve was hanging off of a wire
Mhm.
on the bridge above the stairs.
Which
And
changes the whole thing.
there was a chunk of snow missing from the railing
Right.
of the bridge above the stairs. And so it goes from, oh, he slipped down the stairs to, oh, he fell off the
Fell off the
bridge.
bridge, yeah, and, like, I was so focused on the on the words. I thought
Yeah.
the words was all the evidence that you would need, but
Mhm.
it's not. You have to look at, which of course you do. I don't know why that
Yeah.
didn't
Well,
hit me, but, like, just looking at it as a in strictly, like, a gamer perspective, yeah, I thought you just had to look at you get the words and then you deduce from there, but yeah, there are hints within the scene that are not
yeah.
necessarily hotspots.
What's just very different than like any other type of game except for again maybe the as I say again because we've talked about it on the show so many times,
Mhm.
Return of the Obra Dinn
Yeah,
or
yeah.
these other sort of deduction games. Outside of them, it's hard to find examples of this in
Yeah, it's very
video games.
unique.
But in the first scenario of Case of the Golden Idol, right? Um, there's a point where you have to figure out where on the island the certain death has taken place. And
Mhm.
the way to figure that out is you look at some islands off in the distance and you
Right,
compare them to the islands on a map that you have.
right.
So I mean, both games set that up in pretty much the first scenario is like not only are you looking at the words and the hotspots, in fact, you have to look at hotspots like what's in each of their this is in Case, what's in
Mhm.
each of their bags
Yeah,
to
to
determine who the
identify
two
them.
men are, yeah,
Yeah.
and what's in their pockets. So again, back to the premise. So you're clicking around these scenes. You're like this omniscient. You're not omniscient. You're this detective ghost, and
My
uh,
favorite.
you're clicking around on these scenes, and you get to see what every person in the scene is carrying on them. You basically get them to turn out their pockets. You just click on them, and it shows like a list
Yeah,
of inventory.
yeah.
And sometimes they're holding letters, and you get to read those. And sometimes
Mhm.
they're just holding, I don't know, like a ring and some pocket change or something.
Yeah.
You also get to, if you click on any person, you get to hear the last words they said before the person died. And so for the person dying, it might just be ah, but for somebody else, it might be something really important, like
Yeah.
you know, like mom always did like you best. Right now, they're both brothers, right?
Yeah.
Um, and then you get to click around the scene, any other like random evidence that's laying around, footprints, a bag, and you click on the bag and you see everything that's in the bag.
Mhm.
Some well, not really. Blood spatters are more things that you don't click on, but are just in the background. What's another
Yeah.
example?
Of like evidence?
Yeah, stuff that's.
Yeah, weapons. There's usually
Oh
weapons
yeah,
around. What else? What else is there? I'm trying to think of case because we're
yeah. If we're
I mean,
sticking
we're
to
talking
case
about
right
both
now,
of them, but like uh case was just a really interesting one to me.
signs on a door, something,
Signs,
things
yeah.
like that. Somebody's jacket, s- uh, sitting on a chair.
Yeah, what they're wearing, try to pair who's wearing what is very important.
Yeah. Um, and so in case things move really fast.
Yeah, they do.
So, oh, all right. Just to put a cap on what we were just talking about. So, after you click on all these things, everything you click on will usually give you a word or multiple words, and then you have a bank, like an inventory of words, and uh, you you pull it out of, like, you pull a name off of a letter,
Mhm.
or you'll click on a gun, and then you get the word gun,
Right.
or things like that. You click on a sign that says, you know, castle big guy, and then you get the words castle big guy.
Yeah.
That's There's no castle big guy in the game, but um, but then you slot those in to the Mad Lib, and it will, if you don't get it right, it'll just say you're wrong, and
Yep.
it won't tell you how close you are until if you get 3 or less wrong.
I thought it was
No,
2
it's
even.
2. Yeah,
Yeah,
if it's
2 or
2 or
fewer.
less,
Yeah.
2 or fewer wrong. If you get 2 or fewer wrong, it'll
Yeah.
tell you that.
Which is
Um,
helpful. I will say that is helpful because then you can really if you're that close, you can kinda start deducing a little bit better. You can tell at least which things are right if you have 2 or fewer.
there are also some ways to trick that, right? Like, if you
Oh.
know something, if you're trying to nail down which part of it is wrong,
Mhm.
if you have 2 or fewer, you can just take out something that you know is right,
Right.
and then switch out some words, and if it goes from yellow to red, you
It did.
know, like, okay, that was the one, and then you put the right, and then you know
Yeah,
where to focus.
exactly.
So there is some ways to game it, and I don't know that I would recommend that, but if you're really stuck, um,
I mean, I would say that's just another strategy, right? To get to the
I
I mean,
guess. Yeah.
realistically, that's just another strategy, but
Yeah.
no, I know what you mean, though. Like, the best way to go about this game to ensure that you get things right is to just work really hard and, like, pay
Really know
attention.
them. Right.
Yeah,
Look at
really know it,
everything.
yeah.
So, okay, so things, to the story, and
I don't wanna spoil anything, so
I
I
know.
wanna
Yeah.
talk about the story, and I think I can do it, being a reviewer, I do this for a living. I think I can talk about the story without giving away too many spoilers.
Yeah, because one of the problems is, understanding the story is the gameplay.
Correct, yeah. So if we
So
give you the story, that's not
there's no game to play. You don't have anything to
I mean, you
play.
can because you have to specifically but
Get
I
the
think
sentences, but you're not gonna have
yeah.
fun anymore.
Right, I
Um,
want the I you know, it's really interesting. I personally think it's very difficult to come up with a good mystery mechanic and a good story that is being told at the same time. And it's interesting because the story is all being told via evidence. That's very cool and unique to
yeah.
me. And these stories are very detailed, you guys. So
Oh my god, yeah.
let me go into Case a little bit. The
Sure,
first thing I want
please.
to say about Case is I actually like the graphic style of Case better than Rise. They kinda did a little switcheroo. If you guys are familiar with, like, home movies, which is one of my favorite, cartoons slash shows ever. They started with like squiggle vision and then they went to flash later on and it's like smoother and different. That reminds me of what happened here. Case of the Golden Idol looks almost grotesque to me.
Yeah.
It
And
looks off, you know?
I don't want, and I want to hear you. I don't want to fully interrupt you. I just want to. I think we should pause here for a second to talk about this art because it was very controversial.
Really?
People hated this artwork. There were so many people
Okay.
that were like, "I love the game, but I can't stand the art." And I think those people are just straight up wrong. I think this art, like you said, it's grotesque,
Mhm.
and it's shocking,
It's
but
weird. It's
it's
it's hard to explain exactly what it is. It's like overly dithered. Everybody looks kind of off again. I did like it though. I don't know why I liked it. I'm having
people
a hard time articulating why I felt that it made sense.
people discuss this game like discuss the artwork in this game like it's Microsoft Paint art, and I think
Mm.
these are people who don't remember what Microsoft Paint art looks like. Like Microsoft Paint art was like Hugo's House of Horrors,
Sure.
right?
I
This
can
is
understand it. I can understand seeing it as in a very but it's I mean, it's very up there, Microsoft Paint art, if that's what you're saying. Like, it's
yeah.
very high
Well,
end.
a lot of it's flat
Yeah.
and or dithered, right? Like there's not a lot of, I guess there is shading. There's not a ton of shading, maybe
Right.
is what I should say. Shading is often done in either not at all or in two tones.
Yeah.
Um, and it is grotesque, but the thing that they managed to do in this game is be entirely clear at every moment.
Mhm.
You can solve everything by just looking at the pictures. Um, and that is difficult to do, right? To
Yeah.
have that sort of clarity and visual storytelling is tough. Ask any comic book artist.
Yeah.
Um, and they managed to make every person, and this is something that's also incredibly hard to do in any visual medium. Every person looks distinct.
Yeah. Yeah, they do.
Every single person looks like that person and only that person, and you will
Yeah.
see that person later and you will know who that person is.
Which is
Um,
important. It's, recurring characters is very much a thing in both of these games.
right. And I'll say at first it's not, right? Like you can solve each case separately. But
Yes.
as you get further in, like when you get to the end of the game, or in Rise, it's a little different. We'll get to that. But when you get to the end of case, you really need to know who everyone was and how they moved through from one
Yeah.
scene to the next.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
little hint, it's not always as easy as you think it's going to be.
Oh, I thought
Um
Case was very difficult. Um,
well, I just mean, so you still haven't gotten to the end of the case. I'm just saying there may be some characters who are not the characters you think they are in
sure.
very interesting ways. It
Sure.
is the most shocking and amazing part of Case is when you figure out who each character you've been following at the entire time is.
Right.
Sorry, maybe that's too much of a spoiler,
No,
but
it's not. No, it's not because I don't think it is. I think it is safe to say that this particular storyline is about a cult. We can say that. That's fine. I don't think that's a spoiler.
no.
Um, and it's your very. I mean, I've seen this storyline in adventure games before. It was kind of giving me some Broken Sword vibes a little bit. You kind of
Hmm.
had different different parts of each cult and what certain people are following. And I was having a really fun time with Case until I got to it kind of went off the rails to me. Like you said, it moves very fast, right? And it does. It moves incredibly fast. So I'm solving these cases, and about maybe a little more than halfway through, I am suddenly in a cave and I am witnessing some cult activity. And I have never been more confused and stuck in my that I did finally get to a point where I was sort of figuring it out. But man, it took such a
Yeah.
hard turn for me. I'm like, "Holy shit. I don't know any of their names. I don't know how I got to this name." Uh
So
there was a chapter, by the way, Matt, there was a chapter prior to that where I don't even know how I would have gotten one of the names. I went back and played, and I still don't know how I would have figured it out. So I was
Which
struggling.
chapter is that?
The servant housekeeper one with Lil Pip, and the servants
Oh,
and
okay.
Edmund Cloudsley. So there was I mostly got it, but there was an answer. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how where I found this. I don't know what it is.
Yeah,
I'm so confused.
it's there, but sometimes it's not. It's so removed from A plus B equals C, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it is so much like if A equals B and B equals C and C equals D and D is F minus G, then H equals A, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's so sometimes it is so far removed, and it's interesting because you played Rise first.
I did. Yeah.
Um, one thing your brain was programmed to do was to look at it as an ongoing story
Right.
because that is very clear in Rise. But in case it's not clear,
Right.
um, in case the first three scenarios don't appear to have anything to do with each other besides a single last name.
Right.
Um, and you might not even notice there being a specific object that happens to be in each scene. You probably will if you looked at the name of the game, but
Right.
you might not because it's not
Right.
important yet. So, um, when you're playing Case, it is about where you're talking about the cult,
Yeah.
where in order to solve some of those things, you have to sort of you don't have to, but it helps if you go backwards and start to try and understand what happened leading up to now.
Right.
But until that moment, when I very first played, I had not connected each scenario as a unraveling story. To
Mhm.
me, they were all entirely separate. Um, until the chapter that you're talking about.
Yeah. I I did connect them, but in terms of puzzle solving, I did not understand how you got so in this cult there are different ranks. There's different ranks and
Yeah,
different like categories. I was really not sure how to like identify them.
yeah,
So you don't always have to identify people's names in this game. Sometimes you just have to identify their rank and their category, like where
yeah.
they are. I had no idea where to start. I did finally get it. I looked up like a really vague hint that kind of guided me in the right direction. I'm like, okay, I'll start
Interesting.
here. If I start here, maybe I'll be able to. And
Well,
I did some guesswork and eventually got there.
yeah. I mean, in that scenario, that is one of those ones where through some very difficult logic, you have to figure out if you can just figure out one,
Right.
then the rest sort of comes tumbling down, and you start to figure out you can figure out all the rest. But
Right.
yeah, it getting that first one. I again, we're not going to spoil anything here, but it is hard. It is
It's
very
very hard.
hard.
It's
Um,
very hard. Yeah, I was shocked at the difficulty level, and I would say now, having played both games, Rise is the much easier game, and it's not an easy game, but if I compare it to Case, I think Rise is the easier of the 2 games.
I'll also say the cult scenario that you're talking about, I believe, is the very first time you see mention of a man named Lazarus Hurst.
Yep, that's correct.
You've never heard of this man before,
Correct.
but
He's like yeah, he's introduced in this section.
somehow everybody he seems to somehow be connected to all these characters that you already know.
Right.
So,
And he's in Rise too, right? His name is at least I feel like it is thrown out there.
it is,
Yeah, that's what I
and
thought.
my here's my this is the biggest spoiler I'll give of the whole game.
Go ahead.
You've met Lazarus Hurst before, and
In
that's
Ri
all I'll say
Oh,
in
okay,
case.
okay.
That is all I'll
Got
say.
it, got
Anything
it.
more would be like that is already like a massive spoiler
Okay.
and something that a lot of people don't figure out until the very end of the game
I
because it
have
is a
no idea what you're talking about,
all right,
so
that's great. It is a shock
okay.
when Lazarus Hurst appears, and then it is a shock later when you start to figure out why Lazarus Hurst appears. Anyway, so
Interesting.
I mean, a big portion of this game is this idea that power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely, right?
Mhm.
All these characters have their own agendas.
Yes.
Pretty much everyone you meet has an agenda, and some have really clever, really smart agendas, like Lazarus Hurst or Edmund Cloudsley, or some have some baser agendas, but are just
Right.
very sly and clever about how they go about achieving them, like David Goran,
Yeah.
or
Walter
Walter
Keane,
Keane.
yeah.
Yeah, and then there's these other people who are just absolute idiot buffoons who happen to fail their way upward throughout the entire game. And I want to give credit to Jason Schreier of the Triple Click podcast because he
Mhm.
pointed out a theme that happens between both games, which is just both games have an absolute idiot. And I'd say there's actually a couple, but both
In
games have an
Rise, I felt like I don't know, it felt like everyone was such an idiot, like, to me.
and yeah, there's a couple in Rise, but there's one
Yeah.
specific one. And in in Case, there is an absolute idiot who just fails his way upwards throughout the whole game. I'll just say I don't mind saying his name. His name's Peter Batley, and
That guy, though,
he
so
is
unlikable.
he's so unlikable. He is such a dork and such an idiot. And every scene he's in, he's doing and saying stupid things.
He
He's
looks
so
his character design looks insane.
He's got pinprick eyes and a big fat face, and he's so behind everybody else. Every
Yeah,
other character in
yeah,
the game is on a level that he has not quite reached,
yeah.
and yet he always comes out on top of every scenario, and it's amazing. And we'll talk about who it is in Rise, but so if we're going to I want to enter like a semi-spoiler territory before we move on to Rise.
Okay, go
And
ahead.
what I want to do here is since you are how far into Case?
I beat how do I say this? The lighthouse where there was a tragic accident?
Okay, so you're starting to understand the ideas behind the cult.
Correct, yes, correct. And, like,
Okay.
how the idol plays into what people are trying to do with it, yeah.
So, here's what we're going to do, listeners. I think you should skip ahead say 3 minutes. Let's say
Okay.
5 minutes. Skip
Yeah.
ahead 5 minutes, or until skip ahead until you hear Swanky Maximino. And I'm going to have Roses. You try to explain to me in your
Oh, lord.
best possible way, and it's okay if all of it is wrong. I think that doesn't say anything negative about you. It says something
I'm just a
positive
big
about
fat dum dum.
it says something positive about how good the game is at obscuring the story. Um,
Sure.
so again, listener, skip forward to Swanky Maximino. Roses, what do you think is happening?
I think that I think that there are certain people who wanna acquire this idol because the idol gives miraculous, like, weird powers?
Okay.
I'm not quite sure what really the powers are. I do know that when I did the lighthouse one,
Hmm.
that, like, somebody flew, like, there was uh, a flying type of a miracle type of a thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know, since I'm not any farther than that, I don't know if that's because of the idol or if because there is trickery going on, you know what I mean? Um, so I'm not beyond that, I'm not sure. It feels like a story that people want this idol because the idol can perform miracles.
So okay, so you're understanding the idol at this point is just it does miracles, and you don't
Yeah,
know what it does.
yeah.
Um, so you have not
And
in
and I
any.
know there's like a I know and I know that there's like a temperature thing. And there's like a
Okay.
gold thing because Edmund Cloudsley was like in his book he was talking about he was trying to do these different things. He also put
Mm.
air into he sealed air into a vase and exploded and killed people. So I know it has like weird properties. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Yeah.
All right. Who is Lazarus Hearst?
That's a good question.
I don't know is an acceptable answer, but if you have like even a vague guess of just where he came from, I would love to hear it.
I think I think because he came in randomly
Hmm.
that maybe he was one of the people in the manor or something like that. Like somebody outside of it. So maybe somebody from the family, from the
Okay.
from like the Cloudsley family.
Yeah. Are all the Cloudsleys dead now?
No,
Okay.
Edmund is alive.
Edmund is alive. Okay. Where is he?
I don't know.
Okay. All right. That's fun. That's a lot of fun. I'm really excited to hear. You're going to have so much fun
Interesting.
figuring this stuff out.
Where
All
did
right.
he go? That's very interesting, Matt. I haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah, I mean, his assistant David Goran seems to have abandoned him, right? So,
Yeah.
and he seemed to defeat um what was his name? Keen?
Walter Keane, yeah.
Walter Keene, and yet Walter Keene is now hanging out in the cult, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, uh it's just an interesting thing. All right, why don't you play Swanky Maximino, and
Okay,
then we'll come back and we'll talk about Rise.
let's do it.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Save Your Game. I'm Matt Ockhip. With me is Pushing Up Rezes. Hey, Rezes.
Hey,
How was your break?
what up? It was filled with wonder and whimsy.
It was contemplative, huh?
It was. I'm a
Yep.
contemplative person.
All right, so we talked about Case,
We
which you
gotta
are.
talk about the fucking story of Rise. I don't even know what to think about that
Yeah.
ending, man.
Why don't we talk about? So I think
Ugh.
we're gonna get into a spoiler section of Rise. But first, I think we're just gonna talk about it again, high level, like differences
Yeah,
between this and Case.
yeah. So Rise looks all smoothed out, doesn't it? I wonder if the devs and the artists took to heart how much people didn't like the artwork
I
of
really,
Case.
really think they did.
I think they did.
Because I think that was like that was like the biggest feedback they got, and then the first thing that we ever saw of Rise was, oh, the artwork is different. So
Yeah, very. I mean, the let me say this though: the character design, like the structure, is not different. The
no,
medium is different, so it no longer has that very crude, dithering paint, paint MS look. It's more smoothed out now.
it's less.
Um,
There's no pixels in this one.
right.
It is now like digitally painted.
Yeah, it is like a digital painting. Yeah, which I still like because I know all the characters look very bizarre. It's got a charm about it. And if you just look at screen caps, I don't think it kind of like Hobbs Barrow, where if you just look at standalone screen caps, you might not be into it. But in motion, when you're playing the game and in the scene, I think it all looks great. I like how it looks.
And to me, there are so even though these characters are all sort of grotesque and like very, very stylized, it's okay. It's like the Nathan Drake thing. It is hard to believe that there's no person that Nathan Drake doesn't exist. right?
Mhm.
Like they have rendered him in the game, the Uncharted game, so well that you almost feel like there is an actor out there that looks and talks exactly like Nathan Drake. Well,
Yeah.
I guess there is one that talks like him as a voice actor,
Yes,
but
there is one.
but there is no one who looks like Nathan Drake. He is an invention. And but to me, I feel the same exact way about Oriel Toussaint
Oh,
and about
interesting.
Tessa Nuvari.
Yeah.
It's like hard for me to imagine that those are just paintings. Those guys aren't real.
Yeah. Yeah.
They've burrowed their way into my brain to the extent where they feel real to me.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's true. They're very everything is so unique and memorable looking. Which is good. You want that for a mystery game. You want to be able to remember the characters and not get anyone confused.
Right.
Um, I'm gonna say I liked Rise more, and it had some of my favorite scenes that I felt amazing doing.
Yeah. Well, so all right. So again, gameplay wise differences. The biggest thing is that you've solved the puzzles in chunks now.
Yeah.
Um, instead of just getting okay, first of all, instead of having to click on the individual words, when you click on, say, a letter, all the relevant words from that letter just enter your
Right.
inventory.
Yep.
That I think is an improvement.
I do too. I do too.
um, also, you can move around and resize the windows.
Yes.
Major improvement.
Yes. Yes.
Um, and then there's something that I think many people would think is an improvement, but I don't know how I feel about it, and it's that you solve everything in uh they're like little modules.
Right.
So you'll be trying to figure out uh who escaped from a jail.
Mhm.
And the first thing that you'll do is match all the pictures of the prisoners up with which cell they're in.
Right.
Then you'll match up every name you found
Right.
with who is in the jail, like who all the characters you've met. Then you'll decode a message
Mhm.
that one of the prisoners received, like a coded message,
Mhm.
and then finally you'll solve the Mad Lib.
Yeah.
And in case you would have to do all of that solution. Um, there were some modular stuff, but
Yes.
most of
There's a
that
couple. Yeah.
solution you would have to figure out in your head in order to get the Mad Lib right.
Right.
Um,
I did like the structure of Rise.
mhm.
I did like this modular way of doing it. And one of my very favorite parts of Rise just in general
Yeah,
is identifying people and
yeah.
figuring out where they were. So there is a scene in Rise. It looks it can look very overwhelming, some of these scenes,
Oh,
but
okay. Yeah, I know
yeah,
which one you're
there's
talking
a
about.
scene in Rise that is it takes place in a full apartment complex. This is the most characters you're ever gonna have to identify, and I had the most fun with that one.
And
That
you
one
go into
felt like a
eight
real murder mystery.
you go into 8 different apartments and
Yep.
a lobby and a basement. Yeah.
And normally, I would feel somebody like me, I would feel very overwhelmed. I felt
Mhm.
overwhelmed, for example, in the cult scene in Case.
Yeah.
But for some reason, the way they structure it in the apartment scene with that many characters, you if you just go one by one, if you figure out who people are, I just had so much fun with the apartment scene. And
Yeah,
when you
it's good.
figure out these scenarios, it feels good. You feel like a fucking genius when
Yeah.
you figure these out.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I guess I'm sure you can figure out what bothered me about the modular thing. It's just a little easier, right? Like
It's a little easier, yeah.
it's meant to bring you along. Um and it does. It very well it achieves that goal very, very well.
Yeah. I think it
Um
does get harder as you go as well, like, kind of the modular stuff. You actually stop identifying people at some point, and it becomes more story-oriented,
mhm.
uh, near the end of Rise. So
Whoa,
I think it ramps
you
up.
just did an amazing thing.
What, me?
Yeah, you were saying story oriented, and you combined the two words into Storiented, which is an incredible, incredible word.
Oh my god, I am a
Oh, this is
genius.
Storiented.
It's very story-oriented, you
It's so
guys.
good.
Okay, trademarking, along with the toilet decals.
Toilet
Nobody
decal. You do a toilet decal that says this piss is Storiented.
Storiented. Use that all the time. Very story-oriented.
um
Wow.
yeah,
Genius
no,
right there.
very good. So the other thing that changes is that you have instead of a surprise scenario at the very end that you have to go back through all the other scenarios and put together the entire narrative. You do that
Mhm.
in every chapter. So
Mhm.
you do like 4 cases and then you solve what just happened
Right.
in this segment of time. What
Which
are
I
the
thought was
important
hard.
takeaways?
I thought
Yeah.
that was difficult. I'm like, "Oh god." It's like I know what happened, but I don't know what they
Well,
want to hear.
so it's like you imagine this game as a semester of college, right? And each case is like a class, and then uh each chapter is like a quiz for that segment, and then you take a final exam at the end.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
Um, and I mean, the final scenario in this game is really, really hard, and
Oh yeah.
it does the thing where you have to go back through every other scene and
Yeah.
really understand with new context, which is something that Case is really good at. There's some bit of context you get late in the game that you have to go to apply to every scene that you've already been in. This happens in Rise too.
Yeah.
Um, there are characters who are different than the characters you think they are for a
Right.
very strange and specific reason. Um, and you don't know that until much later, and then you have to go back and say, okay, who is who at every given moment.
Yeah.
uh, and
Man, it's tough.
that is interesting. I in fact went through, I have notes in front of me. I went to each scenario and I wrote down the major things that happened and what date they occurred on, so I could put
Honestly,
together a timeline. um
I feel like I should have taken some notes. I feel
I
like this kind of game will do well for you if you take notes.
Same, yeah, and I didn't until I got to the final thing, and I was
Yeah.
so lost that I was
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna go back to the very beginning.
Yeah.
And then by the time I made it to that, I took down all these notes. By the time I made it to um, the final chapter, I was like, oh, I get it all. And then
Mhm.
I was able to just fill in the Mad Lib
Yeah.
almost entirely correct. There's one name that I got wrong.
What did you think about this story versus Case? Because there's similarities. It is following a theme of power and playing God and tragic accidents.
And there is an idiot who fails his way
There's an
upward through
idiot.
the
There's a
entire
couple
game.
idiots. Yeah.
And he does the idiot thing that he does a couple idiot things, and every time he does, he comes across to the world as a hero.
I know.
And so he becomes famous for doing something wrong. And that is Eugene Marmot is his name, which is a hilarious name.
Yeah, it's a great
Uh
name.
and like he is the Peter Batley of this game, where he just keeps being a fucking idiot
Yeah.
and not understanding what's going on and
Yeah.
just failing upward. And there's also Tessa Navari, who's an idiot.
In a
Uh,
different way. She's just weird. She has weird intentions.
she does. I mean, she's just a spiritual guru who uh, thinks that the idol is doing something different than everyone
And
else
it's not. It's like
thinks.
not
Yeah,
doing it
it's
at
not doing
all.
anything, and she tries to use it on somebody at some point. She's like, "Take that!" And
Yep, take
nothing
this.
happens.
Nothing. And I think that's why Rise is so interesting is even
Mhm,
though Case had a very like complicated branching out story, this even more so. There are a lot of characters in Rise of the Golden Idol.
mhm,
There are different companies that are working together. There are people who are connected that they might not even know each other, but they are connected in some way.
Right.
I thought personally that it branched out too much,
Interesting.
and because it did, I was a little confused at the end of the game. It almost felt like, I don't know, it felt like an afterthought. The very, very ending felt like an afterthought. I think this game, like, as you're playing, you know kind of where it's going and what
Mhm.
people's intentions are. Like, you have people who want the idol, like Tessa, for example. She thinks that the idol can, like, give empathy to people and,
Mhm.
like, take away hatred. So that's why she wants to use the idol, right? And
Right.
and there are other people who want the idol because it can, like,
Well, this is okay.
uh,
We're bleep that out real quick, and we'll just say we're in the spoiler section now.
yeah, I
And so
will.
again, if you guys want to jump forward to Swanky Maximino, we're going to talk about spoilers for a
Yeah,
bit.
yeah.
But yeah, okay. So sorry, say that again, and not we won't beep it out.
But yeah, so some people want it because, and I think the idol can do this. I don't think
Yes.
it can do the hatred empathy thing, but what it can do is it can swap people's, like, memories, like consciousness. Um not
And
not
what they
not even
yeah.
memory. Yeah, memories, I
Well,
guess
because
is the
it
right
is
word.
memories, but what they
Yeah.
find out by accident is that it also, if you swap a person's entire memories, if you take or give a person's entire, it basically takes the entire person and
Right.
swaps them.
It swaps
Um,
them. Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah.
And that
And
happens in the game, and there are characters who are different people.
it's interesting. I'm going to say this, I have such, because
All right.
this branches out so much, it's hard for me to say if I liked the overall story or not, or if I liked the, like, little mini stories, that the snippets that you're getting in the vignettes and the scenes. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. All right. I loved the story.
Yeah.
It took me a bit to really understand it, but once I okay, there's a moment right later on in the game where you start to understand why all these characters have red eyes with black crosses on them.
Mhm.
And you continue moving forward through the game, and then you're sort of inspired to remember the first time you saw that.
Right.
And you think, "Oh shit, that guy who the very first thing I found out was that he was dead
Right.
is not dead. That guy has had his memories removed and put into the idol." And
Weird.
once that occurred to me, I was like, "This fucking rules." Like, because there's just this, because again, it's this aha moment that you strive for in these
Yeah.
types of games, where all of a sudden something that you assumed is turned completely on its head. But that led me to this false conclusion, which is that that man was behind all this.
Right. Right.
He wasn't, but once I found out who was, and I did have to do a trial and error it was actually weirdly, this is not to brag, this is just to talk about how different the difficulty levels are between Rise and Case. The only time I had to do a trial and error in this entire game. The entire rest of the game I knew what I was putting in each
Yeah.
slot and why.
Yeah.
Um there was only a couple times where I got a yellow and almost no time where I got a red. The only times I got a red was when I accidentally put the same person's first name as both their first name and last name.
Yeah,
I would do like
I
Navari
misclicked
Navari.
too.
And,
Yeah.
then I'd be like, why is it red? Oh, I fucking misclicked. Um, but but I got a solid red in the very last scenario because I didn't figure out who the mastermind was.
Yeah.
But that's why I stopped and went back and looked through every scrap of information and realized, like, they do seed it throughout. The plot that he pulls off is the plot that he suggests to the CEO. when he first
Right.
finds out what
Right.
the idol can do.
Right. Yep.
Also, um, his idolization of his grandfather is seeded early in the game
It
with the
is.
name Icarus, right?
Yes.
Um, and there are some other like weird hints as to who Hunter, what's his name, Hunter something,
Hunter
Hunter
Wolf.
Wolf, who Hunter Wolf actually is. That I didn't pick up on until I knew who Hunter Wolf was.
Same.
So,
Yeah. Same.
um,
I was
so
getting confused just by the amount of important characters, right? It seems like there are way too many characters that have an amount of importance that you need to pay attention to, and that
yeah,
gets very complicated. It gets complicated to know what every person's motivation does and who did what and whose memories are whose and who the fuck is Hunter Wolf and why am I on this weird
well,
compound? Like it got to me, it got a little overly complicated.
the first thing that well, I knew from the start that Hunter Wolf had to be somebody we've met already. I just didn't know who he was.
Right.
Um, and then I hadn't realized we had heard about Hunter Wolf in the first chapter.
Oh, interesting. I don't
He
remember
was
that.
a contact of Isaac Nowak
Okay.
that listed in like the police reports and stuff, or a contact of Luke Brown, one of the two, maybe a contact of Luke Brown. But so, and also one of the first things you find out about Isaac Nowak is that he was spending time at the steel yard.
Right. Right,
Okay,
right.
so the first thing that really, really threw me was who the fuck is Bruce Myson?
Yeah, there's just so many names. I'm just like,
And
who?
then,
What?
so I had to go all the way back and was like, oh, that's that security guard who got stabbed.
Mhm.
It is, I guess, we don't know how he got like turned.
Yeah.
Like at some point, I guess he became part of the conspiracy,
Right. I
and
don't
then
Yeah,
and then he
why
gets
though?
and then his brain gets replaced with Luke Brown's. But
Yeah.
we don't really know how that occurred. We know he got stabbed by a crystal.
Right. It just maybe it just really happens off off screen, as it were.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I'd say that was probably the only plot point in the entire game that bothered me, is how did Bruce
Sure.
Myson switch sides?
I think my biggest issue was that there were too many motivations. So like I was having trouble with like because there's the motivation of Eugene, his name's Eugene, right? Marmot.
Yes. Yeah.
Uh there is like a, a capitalistic motivation here where people just want people to buy orange soda. What they're yeah, this is real. So
Yeah.
one of the I thought this was actually the major plot point that was happening. It's like, oh, capitalism is bad, obviously, and the biggest thing that they're gonna do is broadcast. They're gonna use the idol to broadcast good memories of fucking orange coke
Yeah.
into the minds of the people so they can sell more of it. And this is their big thing. And so I thought that it was going to be that that's the main story. It's going to go wrong, obviously. I wasn't realizing that there was going to be another weird thing where people were swapping memories and then at the end the scientist becomes like his uncle's memories. That
Right.
came out of nowhere to
Because
me.
he
I
was
was just like,
trying to
okay.
yeah, no, I can understand that.
Yeah.
I understood that there was a second person who was trying to do something to the I thought he was trying to like enslave the populace. But he was
Right.
trying to make them all geniuses, like his
Right.
grandfather, who he idolized, exactly like he pitched in his original letter to the CEO. But
Right.
Eugene Marmot's pitch was better, which is let's make them all like soda.
Which I thought was hilarious, by the way.
Very
I
funny.
I think that is such a funny thing to put in the game, especially where you think that everyone has like almost murderous intentions. No, this guy wants to sell soda.
And and
It's a little silly.
and his villain, the person he is struggling against, is just a guy that wants him to fail. That's all.
Right.
All Tim Spender wants to do is get Eugene out of there because he thinks he's an idiot. So
And he is
Eugene,
an idiot. Yeah.
he is an idiot. So Tim is trying to get people to have bad memories of soda, which is as
Oh my
stupid
gosh.
as Eugene's goal. So
Yep.
like you have two idiots who are sparring, and then one genius who ends up having a tragic flaw that fucks it all up.
Yeah.
And it turns out, like the real battle was kind of fought between Eugene and Tim because Jack's plan was completely foiled, but by
Right.
accident. So
Right.
like it didn't if Jack had never it's sort of like the Indiana Jones thing, right? Like if Jack was never there, all of the same things would have happened.
Mhm.
Well, no one would have figured out the idol, I guess. But because Jack was the brains behind that. But if Jack had disappeared as soon as he solved the puzzle of the idol,
Mhm.
all the same things would have happened. It just literally would have been about soda.
Yeah.
But Eugene still would have gotten locked on the roof. Eugene still would have pulled the AV cable. It still wouldn't have gone anywhere, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
like there's something so weirdly absurdly poetic about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I did think all of that was very, very clever. It's actually so clever that I didn't think for a while,
Mm.
I didn't realize that that was Eugene's intention. Because
Yeah.
because what? You could do so many things with this golden idol, but really? This is
Yeah.
what you wanna do. Oh, okay.
Right.
So it's very fun. It's actually very funny.
Mm.
But I would
But
say, like, my favorite scenes don't have anything to do with the overlying story, which I wonder if that's a
okay.
flaw with me or a flaw with the game, you know?
I, I think it could just be a misalignment, right? I think the way that the game builds story is really smart and really interesting.
Yeah.
Um, I also want to bring attention to the fact that we're going to have 20 cases of DLC, supposedly.
Yeah.
And
Holy
we still
shit.
have some loose ends, right? We still
Right.
have, and this is we've gotten into major spoilers. So I hope if you were playing the game, if you haven't played the game, you're not listening now. But we still have Oriel Toussaint, who
Mm,
doesn't exist anymore, I guess. We have so Echo Secunda is just running around rampant.
right.
Um, we have two homeless men in rich people's body who both went rogue,
Right.
and we have Mahmoudi. What was her last name? I have it written down here somewhere.
Oh gosh, I don't
Um,
remember. There's so many
Malma-
names.
Malmati da Silva, who knows that something is up and wants to reclaim the artifact for
Mhm.
Lemuria.
Right, right, right,
And so we have those three, I guess technically four, loose ends
right.
swirling around. And I, am fairly certain they're going to come up in the DLCs.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they will.
Um, the DLCs, we didn't talk about this in the last segment, but the DLCs of Case of the Golden Idol were all prologue. It was all
Oh,
um, how the idol made it made it from Lemuria into the hands of Albert Cloudsley to begin with,
well, that's cool.
and it's very, very, very cool.
I
Uh,
love that. I love it when stories go back and do a prologue. I think it's smart and I like it.
But we also have a 200-year gap here, right? Between
Yes.
1770s and the 1970s. So, even though the idol was in pieces during that entire time, it'd be interesting to see how those pieces moved.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So, I don't know. There's a lot that I like. It feels, because we know that we are only halfway through, it feels like there's half of a story left to go.
Right, right.
And I'm really, really excited for where it goes.
I
How
wanna
about you?
know I wanna know what your favorite thing to solve was that you were like, "That was so fun. This is exactly my type of puzzle solving." Do you have any scenes that felt like this was made for you and you were just in your element?
Um,
I have
okay.
2.
I think I have two also. The apartment scenario was really good.
I love the apartment. Yeah, I love that
Like, you're
one.
just you were right about that one. That one is really amazing. Um,
That
but
almost felt like its own, and it is its own little private
yeah.
story that you're trying to figure out. But man, that one felt particularly special to me because it was like, this is an episode of like Law and Order, this is Murder She Wrote. I gotta figure this out. All set in one complex. Yeah, that was a very good, whoever designed that, really well done.
And and then I mean, I loved so many of them, but then the final clash. The final clash
Okay.
blew me away, right? Because again,
Hmm.
I had to go through and just at the end of case, I had to go through and understand every single step to just truly get it.
Yes.
And that again, it makes you feel like a genius.
Yes, it does. I do want to highlight a certain kind of puzzle that they used a couple times in Rise,
Okay.
which is, there is one puzzle where like a piece of glass falls into a pool, and you have to determine what path this glass dome or whatever it is, how it fell. And
Interesting.
I really liked that. I think,
So
you would see like some flowers trampled on the ground, or at the other end you would see like a bike trail, and you would need to figure out what path this thing took. And I like that. It wasn't my favorite scene, but I can appreciate a mystery puzzle like that, you
I
know?
just want to be clear. You're saying glass as an example, or do you know what that object was?
I do.
Okay,
I
okay,
don't
okay.
wanna say it though.
Okay, perfect. All right, great. Yeah,
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure. Okay. I Because if you didn't, I was like, "Oh, I have something fun to teach you." But
No,
no.
no, no, I know what it all is, yeah.
Great, 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 great.
And I also loved, there is a bird scene, an aviary scene. I know, I know. It is like the saddest scene.
Mm,
Like, I was legit sad at that scene. But it is a scene where you have to identify which birds are which, what has irritated them, who was feeding them. I really liked it. I really liked the way the puzzles felt. I like these kind of mini stories within the bigger story because they are connected, whether they're mini stories happening or not. The apartment complex had its own story
yeah,
going on that you needed to solve. But it is still, there are characters within this complex that are connected to the bigger story.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I really like these games. I wasn't like blown away by the ending that like you were for Rise, but I am blown away by the game. I am blown away that it was told so well, and it's so rewarding and so
Mhm.
challenging. It's really unlike anything I've ever played, to be honest. I've not played a mystery game like this before.
Yeah, it's I mean, they are incredibly unique. They're incredibly interesting, and the fact that they're able to do such a complex story with like this leaving you so completely in the dark
Yeah.
is so interesting to me. Again, with just like there's very little dialogue and there's very few cutscenes. It's just
Right.
you solve it, and like that's so I don't know. I'm blown away. And another thing that Jason Schreier said on Triple Click was he had interviewed the creators of this game, and they seem tired and they seem like they're ready to move on to another project, and nothing could bum me out more than that
Oh.
because I wanted these to go on forever.
Oh. I would love one in the vein of Murder She Wrote. Hi, devs. If you're listening to this podcast, I'm a big Murder She Wrote fan, and I love your little mini murder mystery scene. So if you could just do that for me.
You
Thank
know what?
you.
Here's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping the Duck Detective games get harder.
I bet they will. Yeah, I bet they will. I
uh,
love Doctor. Oh, Doctor
yeah.
Detective. Love that
All right.
game
Do you have
too.
anything else to say about the game before we move into ranking every adventure game ever?
No, I think we did it. I think we talked pretty well about the cases,
Here's the mistake we made,
the
though.
idols. We made a mistake?
Yeah, because we because we sent people ahead to Swanky Maximino. We're gonna have to do our housekeeping after Housey Keeperino.
Everyone, welcome back to Save Your Game. I'm Pushing Up Roses. This is my co-host, Matt Aucamp.
Hey.
And we need to do some wrapping up of this gift that is this episode.
Yeah, we kind of we didn't think when we sent you guys ahead into the future. They're like,
Sorry.
oh, we usually do this. We usually do wrapping up before. But you know what? Here's the thing. I think everyone fucking loves the ranking segment.
Oh,
We've
yeah.
gotten no complaints about it. So maybe we don't have to worry about people turning it off midway anyway.
Yeah, maybe not. It's true.
But okay, all right. So
yeah, we're going to wrap up here. Before we do our beautiful ranking every adventure game ever made, we just want to say that we are a part of the Adventure Game Hotspot Network. You guys should go check it out. For all of your adventure game loving needs, my co-host here, Matt, is a writer over there. You should go read his reviews.
Nominally.
Nominally.
It's been a long time.
But whatever, you should go read them anyway.
Yeah,
we
yeah,
also
yeah.
have an email that you can yell at us at.
Yeah, it's mattandroses@gmail.com. Yeah, yell at us about anything we're wrong about, but be nice.
But be nice in your yelling. Thank you.
Tell us how much you love us, because we actually prefer that, to be honest.
I prefer love over hate. I know it's weird, but yeah.
It's a weird thing about us. I know it's both of our therapists say how weird that is, but
yeah, my therapist is always like, you are way too dependent on love. You need to be more dependent on hatred.
You need to be dependent on hate. You should let more people hate you, is what most therapists say to most people, is what I've heard.
Yeah, get the golden idol.
Or at least what I've imagined.
And put the hate in instead of the empathy. You put in the hate.
Yes. But yeah, no, or send us questions. It'll be a little while until we do our next Q&A segment.
Yeah, it'll be a bit.
If you've ever written us before, you know that we save them, and we get to most of them. I think
we do. We get to a lot of them. We really
can't get to all of them, but I think we get to more than more than half.
Yeah, I agree.
So, yeah, email us is the point.
And now, shall we dive in to our special ranking every adventure game ever made?
Yeah, let's rank every adventure game ever. Yeah.
Related to this,
yes.
Somebody sent us an email. Speaking of email, no. Sorry, my bad. Strike that, reverse it. Not an email, Instagram comment saying that we should actually take off Land of the Limbo.
I saw that.
Lost. We're going to leave it for now, but I see what you mean, commenter. Yeah. I get it. I totally get it.
You're not wrong.
You're not wrong.
It's just that I think it's going to be so funny to watch it drop over the months and years that we do this show, just get lower and lower. Like nothing's ever going to go below it, right? Like we're going to have some of the worst games you've ever seen, and they're still going to go above this fucking game.
Yeah, and we're going to make fun of it and denounce it every chance that we get.
It.
Yeah. So stupid. Okay.
What I can't believe is that they stole a bunch of assets and still managed to make one of the worst games. Like, how like you cheated and still did bad. So here's what I wanted to tell you. I played a game that we ranked.
You did?
I played, well, I didn't finish it. Okay. But I played the Slaughter Act 1.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't know if I want to move it. I
Okay.
here's the reason why I don't think it deserves to be at number 10 anymore.
Okay.
It's so slow.
Okay.
There's long cutscenes, a lot of like very long cutscenes. Some of the longest cutscenes I've ever seen in a game.
Oh, shit.
Very long winded dialogue, and the characters literally just move slow on the screen.
Okay.
It's very frustrating for these
Okay.
reasons. But it is fucking gorgeous. It is
Yeah.
such a beautiful game.
It really
Uh,
is, yeah.
and even though uh, the dialogue is long-winded, it's all written really well. Like, this guy is a
Mhm.
phenomenal pixel artist and a phenomenal writer, and so, like, yeah, I don't want to bump him down,
Okay.
but we'll see. We'll see when I get further into the game, uh, because it is a little grating.
I mean, and also we have so many more, games to rank that, things are gonna
Yeah,
just move around
it's gonna bump
naturally.
down eventually. Yeah, you're right.
Yes. Yeah.
We're ranking them in terms of how they relate to the other games on the list, not where they deserve to end up.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, you're right.
I know.
All right. Okay. So, I want you to give me a number out of 6.
5.
Okay. So, number 5. This one's gonna require some work because I didn't. 5 is the only one that has some blanks on it,
Oh my god.
because I didn't repopulate after we just cleared out the whole list. Okay,
Okay.
so this one is number 2,576. It's by Dabster Entertainment
Okay.
from 2020. It's called SSTR.
SSTR?
It's called SSTR.
Okay, I see it. I see it on Steam.
It's a game.
Oh, game may not be appropriate for all ages. I gotta put in my
Oh
birthday.
yeah! Oh fuck yeah!
Wow. Let's see, my birthday, 1998. Oh god, this is not a game that I would like.
Yeah, it
How
doesn't
is
look.
Wait a minute, Matt. How does it
Yeah,
have no user reviews?
that's a good question.
It has 0 user
Zero
reviews.
user reviews. SSTR. What if we just put it at the top, just because it has no user
Number
reviews?
1.
It's only $5. It's like, okay, it seems to be the gameplay is you have like maybe robot arms and a little remote control,
Yeah.
and you jump between, I don't know, what it looks like a scary reality and a not scary reality.
Yeah, it says it's an escape room type of game. We have another game that's kinda lower that is like that I would tend to put near the bottom.
Okay, in 2021, we have a comment from Free Flow on Steam.
Okay.
Unplayable. Tried this demo. That's my
Oh.
conclusion. You won't be getting any money from me. And then Break says, yes, I have to agree. The stupid game menu alone is reason enough to avoid the game.
Oh,
Vodkin says,
no.
same here. I broke my brain. Too genius for the idiot like me to understand even how to navigate and adjust menu options. What was all that anyway? Darwin Prize in Studio. And Abyss24 says, no way I'll be getting this. So, I don't know.
Okay, it's gotta go pretty low then.
Is it gonna go low, or are we just gonna fucking skip it?
We could skip it.
This feels like a skip it to me.
Okay, let's skip it.
Right? Like, what is going on here?
What's
I
going
can't.
on here?
Um,
Yeah, okay.
right? Like, I don't even know how to rank something that has. Yeah, yeah. All
Yeah,
right.
let's skip.
So, this next one is number 25.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. From 1984,
Mhm.
the company Datasoft.
Okay.
It's called Dallas Quest.
Dallas Quest?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So what it is it is based on the TV soap opera Dallas.
Sure is. Oh my god. Number 1. Who shot JR or whatever. That's the thing, right?
Yeah, it is like Atari level graphics.
It's kinda cute.
What Dallas is?
Dallas Quest is
You're
it's kinda
attracted to
cute.
Dallas. What
Yeah, I'm attracted.
you're telling our
Yes,
listeners is you're attracted to Dallas,
that's
the
exactly what
actor
I'm
who plays
saying.
Dallas. um, yeah, it looks a little cute. I mean, here's what I'll say about it though.
Yeah.
When something is from this classic era
Mhm.
and it has this classic look, and literally nobody talks about it ever. Like,
Yeah.
what does that say about it?
No, I
Um,
agree. I agree.
so yeah, it's got like really early like infogrames and
It
like
it kinda looks like Wizard and the Princess
yeah, maybe
a little bit.
a little more advanced than that.
Yeah.
Um I mean, it's like gonna be too old to find like reviews. So we're just gonna have to base it on like our fucking guts here.
I
What
would
do you?
put this pretty low because it's not listen, it's not memorable. In 1984, we had games like King's Quest, so
Right.
we shouldn't be here. It's franchised, that makes it even worse to me.
This yeah,
Beta soft, yeah,
people were really trying to soak this stuff up at the time,
yeah,
right? And
yeah,
there and people in our like not everyone in our not all of our listeners are going to be of this kind of community, but
yeah,
people in the really heavy adventure game community mine these things
yeah,
constantly looking for all the like hidden gems.
sure.
And honestly, nobody ever talks about Dallas Quest at
No,
all.
no, never.
It did come out for the Commodore 64, which is interesting,
Yeah.
but even these, if you look at these screenshots, this text is nearly impossible to read.
No, it's not good. It is a cash grab, let's just call it what it is, and I think cash
Right.
grabs gotta go near the bottom.
Yeah, I think you're right. Okay, so how close to the bottom are you thinking?
Obviously not the last, because
Well, that's Limbo of the Lost.
there is some character to it. Um,
I think
what it
it's got to go above like James Paris and the Fountain of Eternal Drunkenness, right?
Yeah,
Because
I agree.
that's one of those games that's like mining this era for entertainment in a way that I don't necessarily love.
Yeah,
But this is something of that era that I also wouldn't love.
right.
So above James Paris is The Fan, and above that is Blue
Let's
Force.
okay, let's put it below Blue Force.
Okay, okay, and above
Yeah.
Fan, The Fan, which we refer to as the game where you just torture a woman. That's all we know about it.
That's all we know.
All right, next up is 1247. This is the Book of Unwritten Tales,
Oh,
The Critter Chronicles.
I haven't played that.
Have you played any of the Book of the Unwritten
I
Tales?
have not.
Okay, so I'm sure we have a lot of fans in the people that like point and click adventures who love Book of Unwritten Tales. They are these point and click, these 3D point and click games. They're kind of clever. They came out in, the early 2010s at a time where a lot of point and clicks weren't coming out, so people were starving for them.
Yeah.
And they're kind of funny. Now, the problem is they're boring.
Oh.
uh, and like they're just a little dull, and the puzzles are just very much like, oh, you got to go find three things.
Okay.
They're just like very, very standard point and click puzzles. Now, Critter Chronicles is a little different. In Critter Chronicles, I've never beaten because it's so hard.
Oh,
And
okay, interesting.
you play a non-verbal. Well, he talks, but he talks in like a nonsense gibberish language.
Yeah.
Little Muppety sidekick of one of the main
It
characters.
does look like a Muppet.
Um, and Critter's probably the best character of
Mhm.
these games, but this game is really, really hard. And I've never beaten it.
Oh,
So
interesting.
I'm inclined to put it in like the top third. but
Yeah.
not very high in that top third.
Yeah. I would agree based on what I'm reading and what I'm seeing.
And people love these games. People really,
Yeah.
really like the Book of Unwritten Tales games. I think they're a little I hate to use this word, but I think they're a little overrated maybe.
Sure.
Um but I don't know. Where I would put it, okay, all right, just to give us a starting place. I would say it's below Been There, Dan That.
Yes.
Because that's a point and click game that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
To give us another point, I would put it above like Lily looking. But I'd put it above Midnight Girl.
I would put it above Midnight Girl.
So then we between Midnight Girl and Been There, Dan That, we have Clam Man, Amnesia Rebirth, and Wavetail.
I would actually put it above all those
Okay.
because people like it, because it is a
Yeah.
very structured point and click.
It's
Yeah,
well
I'd put it
made.
above.
It's
Yeah, it's
definitely
well
well
made.
made. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, and people have a lot of fondness for it. So, okay.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
All right. Our next game is from 2020
Oh
by
boy.
Cunham Games. I don't fucking know. It's called Long Count.
Long count.
Looks like an indie game. You can find it on itch.io and on Steam. It's like $3. Looks like it's maybe a little Gabriel. Looks got a very fan game look to it, and it
It
looks a little
does. Yeah.
Gabriel Knight or uh, Broken Sword inspired. Not in
Mhm.
its art, just in its like the themes that it seems to be going for.
There are no user reviews for this.
There are some on itch.io.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
Um,
That's good.
I think this person's maybe just like part of this indie games world.
Yeah.
Um,
It's certainly just like a fan made indie game. So I give it props simply for that.
yeah,
But
yeah, it looks a little amateurish. Well, they're doing an interesting thing here though, where they have this is a very weird thing. Okay, so the backgrounds are it's like photos,
mhm,
and then the next layer, the like foreground, is 3D art.
right.
The main characters that you play are like hand drawn art rendered in 3D.
Yes. It's
And
weird
then
looking.
some of the background characters are just like pen and ink drawings.
Yeah. And it's very clearly a Gabriel Knight parody.
You think so? Yeah, I
Yes.
mean, I was thinking
Did you
uh
watch the trailer on Steam?
I did not. It's
Watch it.
very Gabriel Knight. Okay.
It is Gabriel Knight. It is
Okay.
Gabriel Knight. That's what this is. Yeah. No, it is Gabriel Knight.
Okay.
But, like, if you watch
Uh,
the trailer on Steam, it's like day 1 in blood. Guy wakes up from nightmares in a bookshop with a
it takes place in
newspaper.
it takes place in Germany. Here's another knock against it. The narration
Mhm.
I can't believe this is done with an AI voice.
No!
It's like
No, I gotta
it's
knock that,
it is it
man.
is it is like this. I wish you guys could. These fucking nightmares are getting worse and worse. Darn, not even coffee available. What kind of books? I guess I should get myself an assistant. This is getting out of hand.
Nope, I gotta knock it. It's gotta be bottom 5 then.
I can't be bottom 5 because okay, if it was being written with AI, it'd be bottom 5. But that is the voice talent is AI puts it below. I put it in bottom third for sure.
But it's grabbing from an already existing story and game.
Okay, that's true. Okay, but I'm gonna put it. I'd say bottom third,
Alright, fine.
but because we don't know that the story's the same. We just know that it's going for the same vibes and some of the same like. It's taking heavy inspiration.
It's pretty
Here's what
heavy.
I'll say. I would say it goes below Violet, but above Minecraft story mode.
We can
'Cause it's
put it above
clearly
Minecraft simply because this is more it's still an adventure game.
and it's done out of passion.
Sure, yeah,
This
sure.
person clearly loves this stuff, and I love how they are creative enough to think, "Oh, I can't draw backgrounds, I'll use a photo. Oh, I can't do people that well in 3D, so I'll draw them and put them. I'll just like stick them in the back." Like the fact that they've done so much innovative shit to try and make their vision come true, like,
Sure.
is interesting to me.
Okay, fair.
Okay, all right. Next up, we have this is from 2003 by Lexis Numerique. It's called Missing Since January.
We are just getting
I know.
weird games this time, man.
It
Oh,
was
this
called
game.
It's called In Memoriam, I guess originally, and in the US it's called Missing Since
I
January.
have this game.
Whoa, really?
I do. I have this game. I have it on CD in my
S-
collection somewhere.
Uh, have you played
Um,
it?
I think I have played a little bit of it when I first got it. As you can see, my response is not very enthusiastic. So,
It's not on Steam. Um Yeah, I mean, it was in the EU. It was published by Ubisoft, and in
yeah.
the US, it was published by the Adventure Company, which we've already
Yes.
talked about
Yes. The
is
Adventure Company.
very hit or miss.
Yes, it is. Man, they'll just publish anything. Yeah,
Um,
I do remember this game.
hey,
You know
look,
what?
Jerk Wheat on Metacritic gave it a 9 out of 10. So I don't know if you're gonna go against the prestige of Jerk Wheat.
I think it's kind of yeah, I mean, who am I to question jerkweed? It's honestly really cool. It's got like live acted parts. It has mystery part. It's certainly a game I would have gravitated towards as a young like computer gamer. I don't know
But
how
is
well
it
it
the sort of
aged.
Yeah, is it the sort of thing where it's like a cool idea, but it didn't sort of work?
I don't know. And like right now it's very rare and hard to run.
Yeah.
But I do want to give it some props.
Looks like there's a lot of password finding. Yeah, you
Yeah.
watch a video.
It's almost like it feels like this could have inspired something like Her Story. You know what I mean?
Interesting. Yeah, it looks like yeah, like they do a lot of like verisimilitude, right? You watch a video and then you have to like
Mhm.
enter a password that you discovered in the video, or like you get an email
Yeah.
that you have to like that's there's something interesting about that, right?
I think so too. I don't wanna put it too low.
Like clearly this wasn't like anybody's favorite game, but like there's interesting ideas, and like as I'm clicking through, there's like you have to read articles and you have to read emails and watch videos, and you have like that's
Yeah.
fucking interesting. Like I love that sort of put you in the world of a detective kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Um but I don't know, where do you think? Top half maybe, but
Top half-ish. Because there's gonna be other games better than this
Yeah.
is my thing.
Oh, right, like this might have inspired some shit that's better.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Here I'll put two markers out there. Where would
Okay.
you put this in relation to either The Seventh Guest or Murder She Wrote?
I'd put it probably below both of those.
Whoa, okay, all right. Then
Yeah.
I'll come up with two more markers.
Yeah.
Where would you put it in terms of long count and Randall's Monday?
Above both of them.
Okay, so we're looking around Krabat and the Secret of the Sorbian Cake. You're putting this in the maybe I don't know if you're doing this on purpose, but you're at this is landing in the mediocre block.
That's fine. I'm fine with it for now being in the mediocre block because
Okay.
like as we go, the mediocre block is gonna move around.
And I
It's
think
gonna evolve.
it's slowly becoming not just the mediocre block, but the mediocre block and like medium quality block.
Yeah,
Right? Like
exactly.
this isn't mediocre. This doesn't appear to be a mediocre game to me. It
Right,
appears to be a medium quality game.
right. I agree.
All right. Here's our last one of today because we skipped one, and I'm so excited this came up. This is number 3006.
Okay.
This is from the year 2023.
Oh, shit.
This is a game by Run Disc known as Chance of Sinar.
Oh, you love that game, don't
This
you?
is fucking top 10. Chance of
Aw.
Sinar is so good.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we've talked about it on the show before. We
We
probably
have.
have.
No,
But
we definitely have, and you've
yeah,
explained, like, the gameplay to me. It sounds amazing.
yeah, you go around for people who maybe haven't heard those episodes. You go around and in these really brightly colored, really stylized 3D locations. You're like a little monk, and it's based on the myth of the Tower of Babel. And you basically go around and you're solving a language based on visual cues and things like that, and you're like filling in pieces of language in a book.
Yeah,
And as you fill those pieces of language in, now things you read or things people say that are involving those words are in English, so that or whatever, probably if you play it in French, it's in
yeah.
French, but whatever your language is. And it's really good. It's held back by a couple things, like there's some stealth segments that are really, really shitty. Um, and some of the solutions are guessable rather
Mhm.
than deducible. And that can be a little deflating, but
Sure.
I think it's one of the fucking best games of the past 5 years.
Yeah, I think
Um,
this is definitely top 10.
I'm going to make a plea
Okay.
for this to go above Franbo.
Hmm.
You can argue it if you want, but I
No,
think
I won't argue it.
this game
I
has some really interesting gameplay where Franbo has kind of, we liked the gameplay, but it is basically just point and click
Yeah, that's
gameplay.
why I'm not gonna fight it, I think, because I think
And
that
yeah,
that makes sense.
and I think they both say something really interesting. I think Chance of Sinar is saying something really, really interesting with what it's doing, and it's got like a really a heavy point, and it tells its story as much through the gameplay as it does through the narrative, which
Yeah,
is always something that's impressive.
yeah.
Um, Now, The Last Door, I know we both loved that. So,
I
like,
love that
if
one,
this was
yeah.
my personal list, Chance of Sinar would be above it, above The Last Door. It would probably be above Portal 2.
To me, it would be below the last door.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Because this is
So,
our list, I would say let's put it at number 4, right below The Last Door.
okay, that's fine.
Do you like that?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. So we have 72 games on our list so far. We're getting there. We're going to
Getting
fucking
there!
we're going to get to the end of this shit
Oh
one
my
day.
god.
Also, people seem to really, and email us about what you thought, because people, so far, all the feedback we've gotten on our full ranking episode has been very positive.
Oh, good, I'm so glad. I'm
So if
so
you're a
glad to hear.
person who hated it or skipped that episode because you were not interested, just let us know. Doesn't
Yeah.
mean we won't do it, but I just want to know if it's as universally positive as we are hearing. What else do you have to say before we get out of here, Roses?
Um, uh, Keep a lookout for my toilet decals, and for my next movie, a Yucky Princess Swap.
Yucky Princess Swap,
It's
a
very
movie about incest and romance.
2 words that should not be in the same sentence ever. It's very Storiented, okay?
It's a story-oriented. It's a
Very
story-oriented
Storiented.
movie.
Do you have anything else to say? I think I've said what I need to say here. Do you have anything else to say?
No, the only thing I have left to say is that podcasts is kind of art.
And art is definitely suffer.